Okay, so this morning we are going to be making my famous lemonade, which instead of a water base, it is a lemon balm, lemon verbena, and lemongrass base. And I do equal parts of those herbs. And then I do a quarter cup of tea per half gallon. So we're making 2 gallons, so you would need a full cup of the herb. And I always make my teas with distilled water because distilled water is empty. It's really great for pulling all of the nutrients out of the herbs. And then I just make a really strong infusion, so I just take like a half-gallon jar and put all the herb in that and top it with hot water and let it sit anywhere from like 20 minutes to like 2 hours out on your counter. So here I am just showing you me straining the tea, that that lemon balm, lemon verbena, lemongrass tea that I made. And you can see that I made it really concentrated so that I'm not pouring a bunch of hot water into a drink that is going to be cold. So you don't have to add all the water at once when you're making tea. You can do a little concentrated batch, like enough hot water to cover the herb, and then add the rest of the water after it steeps. I let this steep for about 20 minutes, and I'm grabbing a spoon just to kind of push down all that herb and get all that really good juice out of those leaves. That's going to be the most potent there. And it's just such a fun way to make your lemonade extra. So I do 1 cup of lemon juice per quart of water. So that means we're going to be doing 8 cups of lemon juice for 2 gallons because there's 4 quarts in a gallon. And this is a 2 cup, so we'll do 4 of these. You could also just look at the fact that 16 ounces is 2 cups, and this has 32 fluid ounces, so this would be 4 cups of lemon juice. So you can also do math and do that. So that's 4 cups. We'll be using 2 of these. And I like a tart lemonade, but if you don't like your lemonade as tart, you can either add more sugar or add less lemon juice. And then I'll use my distilled water, like I said, because it's empty. That's why you don't want to drink distilled water, because it's empty. It will pull nutrients from your body, but distilled water is great for making tea with because it really helps pull all the nutrients out of your tea. So I'll pour the water into here just to pull out any extra lemon juice. And we'll start adding the water, and then we'll add the sweetener. I do also a cup of sweetener of choice per gallon of lemonade. Yeah. And so you're gonna have either 8 cups of sugar or 8 cups of honey, but I also add lavender syrup, which is sweet, so I'll do probably like a cup and a half of lavender syrup, and then taste it, and then do the rest honey and sugar. And so I like to start with adding like half my sweetener and then doing the lavender syrup and then taste testing, because your lavender syrup, depending on how you make it, it's equal parts sugar and water, and then you add the lavender flower. And some people will add like 4 tablespoons of lavender flower, some people will add like 2 cups. And depending on how long you simmer it for too, it can get like a little bitter. So you just really want to be taste testing as you add the syrup and knowing what your syrup tastes like before you add it. And I love these like olive oil bottles for adding the syrup because it's really nice. So I'm gonna start with probably about like a half a cup, because this one is a little more bitter and I want to just make sure there's a lavender flavor, but I don't want it to be overwhelming. I want the lemonade to still be the main, especially because of having all the lemon herbs in there as well. So I'm actually going to only add a half that to start. So I'm going to add a quarter cup to start, and then add all my sweeteners, taste test it, and then see if I want to add more. And I'm doing honey and sugar, so since it would be 8 cups of sweetener, I'm probably gonna do closer to like 7 and then try it. So I'm gonna do half sugar, half honey exactly. So I'll do like 3 cups of sugar, 3 cups of honey, and then go from there, because that'll be 6. And this is a 1/3 cup, so. And this does sound like a lot of sugar, so again, you can always do what works best for you. I did want to talk a little bit more about making simple syrup. So all you need is a small pan, a cup of sugar per cup of water. So I think I did 2 batches for my bottle of syrup. So you do 2 cups of sugar per 2 cups of water, and you're not going to bring it to a full boil. You're only going to let it simmer. So you have it on the stove, and you will let the sugar dissolve in the water. And once the sugar dissolves in the water, you will add your lavender. I add anywhere like from 4 to 8 tablespoons. I know that's a big range, but it depends on how strong I'm going for and how intense. I usually go closer to like 8 tablespoons just because I really want it to taste really lavendery. And that's I would double that to about 16. So I end up throwing almost a cup of lavender in there as well. And then I put the lid on and I let it simmer. You can let it simmer for 5 minutes. I usually do 20 and then turn it off. The lid is super important because you want to be keeping all of the steam in there. The steam is really important for all of lavender's wonderful qualities and properties. And then I'll just let it sit for like another hour, come down to like room temperature, and then bottle it. You definitely want like a rubber spatula for the honey because it's gonna drip. Okay, now I'm gonna stir it. And as you can see, I didn't add all my water yet either. I wait to add all the water just in case too, like once I've added all my honey and my sweetener and my lavender, like I wanna have a little extra water, and I usually save a little bit of lemon juice in case I wanna add more, because there's always things you can do, but if you don't have extra of a certain ingredient, then you can't play with it as much. So we're gonna stir this up and we're gonna try this in a second. It's really nice to do this in mason jars first with lids because then you can shake them. And something else that I love doing with lemonade is putting it in the blender to stir it up because then it gets like a little frothy, and that is next level lemonade. And you get that like nice frothiness. But hand stirring is perfect too. Okay, so I think it's perfect as is. So we did a gallon of water, 3 cups of honey, 3 cups of sugar, and a 1/4 cup of lavender. I would probably add the other 1/4 cup, but it's very tart and very delicious as it stands right now. So I'm gonna have everybody else try it and decide where to go from there. But yeah, so what it is right now is a 1/4 to a 1/2 cup of lavender, a gallon of water, 8 cups of lemon juice, 3 cups of honey, and 3 cups of sugar. Okay, final recipe. I did keep it at the 1/4 cup of lavender syrup, 3 cups of sugar, 3 cups of honey. It's probably a little more than 3 cups of honey just because of the way it was like overflowing into the cup. And then we did a gallon of water, and I did this much more of the water because it was a little bit sweet. I would maybe make it a little more lemony next time, cut the sugar even further. So we did 6 cups total of sweetener. I would maybe do like a little less of that because honey just adds its own kind of like really delicious sweetness. And then with the lemon balm and the lemon verbena and the lemongrass, like you can really taste the herb as well as the lemon juice. So I like those ratios. I think it came out really well, and I hope you try it at home because it's really fun and really delicious and so nice cold in the summer. You could also like play around and add other fruits like mulberry or peaches. You could do a different tea blend and add Jamaica to it so that it's like extra cooling, or add mint so that it's really cooling in the summer. And you could use this to make popsicles out of too and add like fresh fruit into it. So very versatile and very fun for the heat that is coming our way.